Hello, everybody, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Truth Wanted. I'm your host, Objectively Dan, and joining me today is
Sassy.
That's my job.
Sorry.
What are you doing?
Sorry.
That's okay. Joining me today is Sassy Atheist. Sassy, how's it going?
Good, really good. Sorry I cut you off. I thought you were going to stop it.
Yeah. That's fine. I love the excitement. That's what it's all about. Sassy Atheist, you have been trying to create some stuff on YouTube, have created some stuff on YouTube. You have a channel right now. Tell me, what is that about? What is your deal?
So my purpose in having a channel and being so active on social media is to talk about religion, politics, humanism, and atheism, and a lot of many different important topics. I am a humanist, and what I really try to talk about and promote is for all of us to coexist with one another, regardless of our beliefs. Yeah. And I've interacted obviously with a lot of theists and atheists, and I've had my fair share of interacting and hearing so many different points of views. And to be honest, there's a lot to work on within the atheist community.
No kidding.
Because yes, there is many people that know me and have watched my videos. They know what I'm talking about. And one of the things that we need to work on is that I've seen it there are atheists out there that want to get rid of religion completely. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I believe that everyone has the right to believe what they want, as long as it's not harmful to them, themselves, or to other people in society. And it's kind of there are atheists that want to that do say that religious people should respect atheists and other people of different beliefs, but at the same time, those atheists are turning around and want to strip away that religious person's right to be religious, and it's very hypocritical. And you can't expect for them to respect and to let other people believe what they want, but and then for you to not want that same thing for them.
Man, that's a big message of like peace and love that I wouldn't expect from a username like Sassy Atheist. You gotta tell me what's up with the sassy. Why you gotta throw that in there?
Oh my gosh. So one of my personality traits, I can be very sassy. And at the beginning, when I became an atheist, I was trying to figure out a name that just fits me.
And how long ago was that, by the way?
I became an atheist in January of this year.
Okay, so this is what's crazy to me, right? Because I knew this before I'm asking these kind of questions, but so you became an atheist in January, and you're already starting your own channel. That is crazy to me. That is really bonkers. So obviously, I know that before January, right? You're going through that transition process, and that's probably the time when you're officially okay with that label for yourself. But to me, that's so prescient. That still feels very new to me. January is not that far away. What inspired you to go from, not only am I going to go to this label for myself, but I'm just going to go straight to just making content on the internet?
Well, let's see. I didn't plan on creating a channel. I created the channel in May. So it was a little while before I even thought of the idea of creating a channel and creating videos that could possibly help people in some way. I mean, like I meant when I first came out as an atheist, there were people that were very skeptical, and that so that you can't go from being evangelical and just like that become an atheist. And I said this many times before, is like, I know it may seem very quick, you know, it's like a quick decision, but for me, this really has been going on for a very long time, because for a very long time I was struggling with my beliefs, and there are always doubts that would pop up and I would have, but then I would, you know, hide it. I would, you know, don't think about it, because I, you know, as I started learning more about Christianity and I started growing in my faith with God, I thought that I had, you know, grown to believe that that was the only way, that was the only truth.
Sure.
So I was, you know, preaching on Twitter, and my view, I was evangelical. I would be preaching, you know, about, you know, atheists or other people needing Jesus, and I would preach that homosexuality was a sin, being transgender was a sin, and just things that, you know, evangelical Christian, a very conservative Christian would say. And so, but I told myself, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to be more understanding and more compassionate to others of that believe differently than me. And so, then
I would think that Christianity would have taught you that already. You know what I mean? Being more compassionate to others and their thoughts. I don't know. Just an observation, but
yeah. I mean, it really, like, it depends on, I mean, obviously in different Christian denominations, you are taught differently, different things, and to believe in, and there are some Christian religions that are more very conservative and more closed-minded than other Christian denominations. And unfortunately, I was part of one that was very closed-minded.
Yeah.
And
so
I believed everything the Bible said.
Yeah. So like you went from preaching on Twitter to making an atheist YouTube channel. Like what was really inspiring that change? Was it actually talking to other people on Twitter? Was it watching stuff on YouTube, or was it something else? Or?
Well, what really changed my whole point of view. I was interacting with a couple of atheists on Twitter, and I can't remember what we were talking about, but I remember is like what they were saying to me made me question my faith and how I was living my life, and I just came to this like extremely shocking realization that I had been living a life that I truly, I deeply, deeply, truly was not right for me. And I realized how hurtful my preaching was to others. And I stopped myself from being true to who I really am. And so I broke down crying. I was like, I cannot go on any longer believing in this. And I actually came out to some of my family members that same day. A couple of family members, they were fine with it. But I came out to my very evangelical great uncle, who he was my Bible study teacher and Christian mentor. And so I came out to him, and I mean, obviously it wasn't a very good reaction.
Mm.
So that it really had put a strain on our relationship. We don't talk, we hardly see and talk to each other. And so it really put, a strain on relationship ever since I became an atheist.
Mm.
But yeah, anyway, so there were just so many, there's so many emotions, and there were just so much, realizations. And I told myself that I cannot stop myself anymore from accepting my sexuality. I can't no more stop myself or convince myself that having normal, feelings for other people, that I had to stop myself from believing that it was wrong, and things like that. And then my journey continued from there.
Yeah, man. And the journey never ends, really. I know, like I just got a text last week. Yeah, I got a text last week from someone who I would call them a mentor, a Christian mentor in my life, who just out of the blue just texted me, "Are you still looking for truth?" And I texted back. I was like, "Are you?" Because like it goes both ways, right? Like, and he meant well. I think he was that's just kind of his way of checking in on me. But like, that's not something we always talk about. I think is the continuing relationships we have with the people who we were once in community with, right? I know that was a really big struggle for me because everybody I knew in my life was a Christian. I hadn't really gotten involved with the ACA at all. And certainly outside of the ACA, I didn't really know anybody. And so, trying to find other people to talk about these kinds of issues with who I knew could respect and understand where I was at, and I could be comfortable with, was really hard at first. And I know that's hard for most people, right? Like that's where you try to find help online, and that's why these kind of communities form in the first place. But I think it's wonderful that you're able to at least talk about your experiences with other people, because I know that even if you're a Christian and you're watching this right now, I hope you know that the people who are like me and are like Sassy in your life, they probably still want to be friends with you. They probably still want to have that relationship with you, but they're going through some stuff that might be hard to understand. So, just a little PSA out there. Real quick before we keep going with the show. Again, this is a call-in show, so I want you guys to come in, call and ask Sassy some questions. Ask me some questions. Talk about what's on your mind, what you've seen in the news. I want to point out what I'm wearing. Normally, I wear some pretty, I'd say, nice clothes, but I have this T-shirt on today. You can't really see it on. It says "Teach the Controversy," and it's got like some moon landing stuff on there. So we were talking to these people from bit.ly/Teach the Controversy, and they went ahead and sent us some free shirts to wear that have some funny stuff like this on here. If we wore them for the next few weeks, and they're not paying us to promote them or anything, we just thought it'd be fun. I have some other ones cooked up here that I'm really excited to wear in the next few weeks. So just wanted to point that out for those of you who are watching this live on the YouTube and want to know, what's up with this shirt. Why am I wearing it? It's just kind of funny. But yeah, so I'm glad you're here, Sassy. I'm glad that it sounds like you're doing a lot better. Sounds like it was really hard, but things are improving in your life now, huh?
Like 1,000,000,000% better.
Yeah.
Ever since that when I first became an atheist, it took a little while to start. I was kind of like starting over, like trying to figure out myself and trying to figure out what I truly liked and disliked for myself, and not because of what a book tells me what's right and what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Or and so it was, I was just going through that whole journey again, because I had started delving into religion when I would say about, I was like when I started my teenage years. And so as I was looking for truth, I was looking for something that I, wanted to believe to be true. But at the same time, I was trying to, I was growing and I was discovering who I was, as a person. But yeah, and so it was a difficult, my journey, throughout the years it's kind of complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And because my background is like, I wasn't just evangelical. I was at the time, before I deconverted, but before then I almost became Catholic. And before I became Catholic, I was a while back before that, I was in Episcopalian religion. So, and that's those two religions I kind of grew up, around. So it just, I've learned a lot about, especially Christianity, and, as I got older, and because just with my interactions with different Christians, and also, my personal experience with learning about different Christian denominations and getting involved in them. And so I just really hope that someone can, in my videos, can help, because I talk about my deconversion, and I talk about, my sexuality. I talk about humanism. I talk about things that I'm really passionate about, mm-hmm. and that I believe that we should be talking more about.
Sweet.
And yeah,
that is awesome. So looks like, folks, if you tuned in with us last week, you knew that we were having a little bit of audio hiccups with Cosmic Skeptic, who was our guest. So just FYI, I want to let you guys know that Alex has agreed to come back next week. And so those of you who were kind of bummed out from last time because we didn't get great audio, we're going to do another show with him. It's going to be great. It looks like right now we might be having a little bit of troubles with our calls. It seems we're kind of getting a few glitches here and there. So if you're trying to call into the show, please keep trying to call in. We're not trying to ignore you. We might be having a bit of more technical difficulties. But you know what? As I always say, it's a live show, folks. Stuff happens live. It just kind of happens. And there's something beautiful to that. If you really look into it, like it shows the human element, right, in action. We see that, sometimes things happen and we can't always predict or plan for it, but we just go with it anyway, because that's what it's all about, man. That's what it means. It looks like we're finally getting some calls here. Now it's going through. So cool. Keep calling in. We have some open lines. We're here tonight with Sassy. Yes, seems like it's trying to work now. Maybe, I don't know. One thing I want to ask you was, you've made a point of emphasis tonight to talk about humanism a little bit, and you use that word, and that word means different things to different people. I noticed that it's something that you want to promote as far as like you want more cooperation in the world rather than the complete demolish or breakdown of religion. You'd rather find a way to live in a world with religion. Is that kind of like a good summary of kind of your views on that? Or
yeah, that's part of it. For me, being a humanist, I want for there to be more, for us to care for about each other, and to get along, and to seek common ground, regardless of a person's religion, sexuality, gender identity, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And just to basically care for one another, and to respect each other, and to know that we can get along with each other, despite, that if we may have a lot of differences. I mean, if we all were the same, like, that would be boring. We were the same. But yeah, that's what it is, for me. It's just care for other people and to help others and to be kind and to show respect and to find common ground with other people.
Sweet. Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good way to start. But, there's some people out there who do say, well, ultimately, these, let's call them religious ideologies, these ideas that people hold, are not sufficient for a society that wants to promote like peace and harmony and just like a normal life for people, right? Like there are some people that say like Islam in particular or fundamental forms of Christianity are incompatible with the modern life, with how we've come to adjust ourselves as secular human beings, that ultimately some of those people want our destruction on some level, or at least don't appreciate our way of life and will go through any means necessary, whether it be through violence or political means, to kind of end the way that we currently do things. I mean, do you think despite all that, that ultimately we can live in a world with people who have those views? Or do you think ultimately people around the world do have to change?
I mean, I think it is important, obviously, for everyone from all walks of life to learn from mistakes and to grow as human beings and to and it's really important to have more empathy and to show respect and to care for others. And I mean, obviously, I do agree in that there are some parts of Christianity, depending on the denomination, that is a little bit more harmful, and just like Islam. But I do believe that we can, because necessarily, I mean, if a person is part of that really strict, conservative religion, that doesn't necessarily make though everyone that's in that to show hate, like actually to hatred and to hurt others. And because I know, some very conservative Christians or, religious people that, yes, have, they don't really accept homosexuality, or, they really have a lot of misconceptions about atheism, and they see atheism as a negative thing. But at the same time, they don't go out and promote harm. And so I believe that as long as we're not acting upon that to show hatred and to hurt others, whether verbally or physically, mentally or whatever, we can still live within one another and still hold our beliefs.
Yeah, when this question has been presented to me in some form, I always have to pause because I really don't know if I could make a definitive answer. I know that I'm going to continue to try to promote, what I think is right as a humanist, what I think I should do as a person, and at least give an opinion on how I think the world could be better if other people change. Because ultimately, I think we do want other people to change. I don't think there's anybody alive that's just like, yeah, the world's exactly fine the way it is. Nobody needs to change or do anything, right? I think it's more about how people should change, or what is something that everyone can do that we can all kind of work towards together. And that's hard if you're coming from a worldview that on the face would just look at me and say, you don't count. Your opinion doesn't matter because I have the truth right here. And this says that you're not a part of that. Because you don't share my worldview, you don't come from my culture, you don't believe in my God, there's no hope for you. You have to turn and repent and come to our ways, or else, that's it, my way or the highway. And that's that's what's really interesting to me, because I think as we've grown more secular as a society, we're seeing a lot more people who play maybe a little more loosey-goosey with their religion. But the people who are fundamentalists are still fundamentalists at the end of the day. And those are the voices that we hear and that we're probably most concerned about, right? I'm not really too concerned about the typical modern Methodist, for example. I'm more concerned about people like, I mean, the Westboro Baptist Church is like an easy picking, but really they're a small group. I'm more concerned about the ones that you don't see in the news. You know, the ones that are doing stuff that we might never hear about because it never gets reported, or, you know, justice isn't handled the way that it should be. So I don't know. I'm more agnostic to the question. I really couldn't give you an answer either way, but I do think that I'm just going to keep doing what I do regardless, right? So.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Like there's no, I mean, everyone has a different answer, you know, to that question. And it's not an easy, and it's not a really easy answer. You have to really think about it and take time but it is hard. But like for now, like I hold that belief or that worldview. It may change, you know, as I learn more and as I, you know, with my surroundings and I see what's going on, you know, it could change. But like for now, that's just my worldview.
You know, but I also think, and maybe you agree with me, I don't think we'll ever truly live in a secular world either.
True. Yeah. Right now I don't necessarily think that. I think that religion will always exist, and you know, as long as humans, you know, as long as humans live, and it's that. I mean, that's fine. That's totally fine. But yeah.
Yeah. So while we're still waiting on trying to get some calls through, again, please keep trying to call. We'd love to hear from you guys so we can have some conversations. So it's not just me and Sassy. Although if that's the case, then we'll do what we can tonight, folks. I want to know what you plan to do with the channel, because there's kind of a syndrome of YouTube people where somebody comes in and it's like, yeah, I'm going to make a channel. It's going to be awesome. Maybe they put out one video, maybe two, and then they just kind of get bored with it. And then they leave, right? Like, they figure out it's not the thing, and that's fine. Like that, it's not for everybody. But Lord knows, like, this channel only happens every week because I have people who help me, technical people in the back who are, you know, helping me right now put this thing together and trying to make something out of it. So like, what is your plans to kind of not do that? Like, what do you have topics set up? Like, are you scheduled out for the next few months of all your great content you're going to put out there? Like, what's your process right now?
See, when it comes to, I've been doing a lot of live streams, and I've been also having other people on my channel to discuss about, you know, different things. And for those, it's planned out. But when I normally just upload a video that's like myself that I made, it's I don't have a set day, you know, each week to put out. I do whatever I can. I have about 20 videos so far already out on my channel. And but like personally, like my schedule, I can't have a set day because there's always something happening, and I have to and when I put out videos that are, you know, just from, you know, for me, that I like, you know, solo, that's just when I have free time, when I'm available to do it. And it's just, for me,
YouTube is so complicated now. You know what I mean? Some people make careers off this stuff. I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but
yeah,
if you had the opportunity right now to make a career off of making YouTube, would you do it? Like making YouTube videos?
I don't. I don't think so, because I I don't see what I do as work. I um I absolutely love what I do, and I love interacting with people, and I love talking and discussing about many different things, and it's really it's a fun thing for me to do. um and I don't necessarily see it as a job. I
Mm.
see it as just, trying to uh, share my views, and to try and to, like, especially when I collaborate with people. um and then especially, like, I'm going to be having a lot more theists on my channel.
Mm.
Yes. I actually I've had a Christian, so one Christian so far, and I've had my friend, what the craft. She is a pagan, and she's really cool. She's been on my channel a couple of times, and of course, I have atheists on there, and I plan on sometime soon. I plan on having a street preacher
Ah.
come on my channel. Yeah, and he's very conservative, and so
So
but like
interesting. Interesting thing. When I was kind of workshopping Truth Wanted, one of my ideas was, yeah, I just want to find people in the local area to bring in every week to have conversations with, which is very ambitious if you really think about it logistically. I'm glad I do have people in studio sometimes, but having people over the internet is really great too. But like, also, like, those kind of conversations can be I don't know. I don't want to throw people off. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put people in a situation where they feel uncomfortable because they come inside and they're here in an atheist community of Austin, and you feel like you pin them down or something. Like, it's great that people call in to talk to me, because that usually you're at a point where it's like you feel comfortable enough talking to somebody outside because you're going. You know what I mean? Like, it
yeah,
feels like it's a bit different. But I don't know. Yeah, I think more conversations are good.
yeah,
Even if like you have a conversation with someone and it doesn't go super well for you, like maybe somebody just like, you have some arguments and like, oh, you don't think it works out, like that's still a learning experience, I think, for people. I think more people should engage with people and just expect that maybe you didn't get all of your points across. Maybe you don't feel like the person completely 100% understood you, but like, hey, you had a conversation about it. And like, in my mind,
yeah.
that's progress. Even if you didn't, you didn't give your super best, right?
Yeah.
It,
But my main point, my main reason in having um different religious people on my channel, is to show others and to say that, hey, we believe in a lot of, we have many different views, and we do not agree on a whole lot, but we can still have a civil discussion, and we can still find some common ground, in the sense that we're both human. We both, we have to respect each other, and it's normal to to believe what you want, and to
Mhm.
live your life how what you feel is best.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's like my main reason why I'm having different religious people, and because and also, it's like there's this assumption made about, and especially about all Christians, so that there are not all, but there are atheists that I I have seen, and I've talked to, that have this assumption made about all Christians, like they're all bigoted, they're all,
Sure.
they're
Sure.
against, and that's simply not true. And just like, not every person who is Islam is cruel, or is hateful, and is a terrorist. And there's like another thing that I'm really trying to talk about and to really have other different discussions about it, is that I personally, I'm not anti-theist. I'm not. I of course, there are things that I don't agree with and I think can be harmful, but at the same time, I'm not anti-theist.
Mm-hmm.
And there are atheists out there that are anti-theist. They are against every single religion, and I think that it's not really rational to be against all religions and all religious beliefs when we don't know every single belief out there. Mm-hmm. And we can't make an assumption, and we can't say that belief is harmful because we don't know about it. We can't make claims about something we do not know about, or we hardly know anything about it.
And some people will argue with you about what constitutes a religious claim and what doesn't as well, which is very interesting. There are some people that it will incorporate science and call it a quasi-religion in some sense, like scientific ideas and things like that, which is interesting. But I want to go back real quick to a point, because we were talking about just having the conversations with people, and like having that on your channel is really cool. But this is what's crazy to me, because if you had, I think if you had talked to me a few years ago of even having a conversation with an atheist about Christianity, in the sense of where it's not just me preaching, that it's just like talking about whether or not ideas are true, like that kind of blows my mind just a little bit, just because I was never taught a Christianity where you can debate with somebody on it. You know what I mean? I was always taught a Christianity like, yeah, of course, this is the truth, and you got to give that truth to other people. You know what I mean? Like, there's no other alternative truths. Everything else is idolatry. You know what I mean? And you got to watch out for the false prophets. The people who are trying to tell you a certain kind of Christianity that's not the true Christianity. Like, it's almost like I wasn't socialized to even conceive of the idea that, not only could my beliefs be wrong, but also that I could even concede a point to an atheist or to someone of another religious belief of something being true. And I just find that really fascinating, because I'm sure there's other people, and I'm sure it sounds like, given your story, that maybe that was your case too. Like you started off on Twitter to preach the truth. You didn't start on Twitter to like have calm, rational debates with people about the advantages and disadvantages of different beliefs. You know what I mean? Like, you were just like, I'm bringing the fire down to you. Like, hey, all you atheists and LGBT folk,
Yeah,
you're in the wrong.
Just about.
Yeah.
Just about. But I back to when you were about talking about debates. When I have a conversation with a religious person, or even if I'm discussing with an atheist or whoever, I don't debate. I just have conversation. I do not do debates. I personally don't feel comfortable. I believe that the more how do I say it can be more productive if we just have a normal conversation, instead of saying or being, I'm against you and I'm going to challenge you and try to and I win if you can't challenge what I believe. And I don't. So there are people out there that rather debate, but for me, I just like to have conversation, because I believe that's more productive than debates.
But I also, it is interesting, because if we talk about you being an atheist content creator, you are going on the platform with an idea of what you think is true and what you think isn't true, which is kind of, like, you're already holding a position in some sort of way. So I'd almost say that, it's one thing to explore other people's beliefs and ideas, but you have to also work around the caveat, like you've even put it in your name, Sassy Atheist, right? Like, that is kind of the assumptions and foundations that you are working with every single conversation. And I almost like, I guess the reason why I point that out is because I've been thinking about this idea about debates lately, because I've also previously described myself as someone who doesn't really do debates, at least not on here, and not in a formal sense, right? I'd be interested, honestly, to really try it. I know some people have suggested, oh, I should talk to this person, do the debate. You know, we'll see if that works out in the future. But like, you know, this whole idea of like, oh, we go into conversations, we don't want to do debates. Well, I mean, if you're going into a conversation and you already believe something differently from somebody else, like, I think it's natural to almost defend what you already believe, right? Or at least point out why you think the way that you do. And so it just kind of, it puts that definition of debate into a tizzy for me a little bit. I don't know. Just thinking out loud about some of this kinds of stuff, you know?
Coming from,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, in that sense, it may be a debate, but I think what also makes a debate is like how we communicate and how we approach the topic. And let's see, another thing is that I am trying to do as a public figure is that atheism is just a disbelief or lack of belief in a god or gods. That is it. Anything else you believe in or don't believe in, that's you. That has nothing to do with being an atheist. And that's like one of the many misconceptions about atheism is that if you're an atheist, then that means you don't believe in any supernatural. That means you don't, you can't, or you don't, let's say, you know, practice or do something that may come from a religion, like meditation or something. And I just, and that's why, like, the only reason why I have sassy, you know, or I mean atheist, is because that's it. I don't believe in a god or, you know, gods. That's just it. And so that's why I like to communicate. That's another reason why I like to communicate with so many different people and to share my views and to also hear others, is to try to break that misconception is that, you know, oh, you're an atheist, then you're in this box, so you have these certain views.
And I agree with you. I agree with you that there is definitely that misconception out there, and it is so common, so common. But even then, you know, I imagine that if you are going into YouTube and you're making it videos about something, like, you already have some opinions about some of these ideas. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely also don't want to give the false idea that, oh, I'm coming into here with a completely neutral space, right? Because nobody is completely neutral on a lot of these ideas unless you're completely ignorant about it, right? Like, especially when we're talking about religion, and if we're atheists and we're talking about this online, like, we have our own ideas about how we kind of conceptualize a lot of these ideas, what we think about them, whether we think they're good, or whether we think they're bad or correct or incorrect. So yeah, I don't know, just an interesting little thing here. It looks like we're finally getting some calls in here going through. So let's try to answer some calls here on this call-in show. What do you think about that, Sassy?
I can't wait.
All right, let's do it. I want to go to Jake in Washington. Hey, Jake, you are on the air. What is up?
Hello, how's it going?
You know what? It's going great now that you're here, Jake. That's how it's going. I'm glad you're here, bud.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I've been watching.
Sweet. Tell me what's up.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan, just want to say. I've been an atheist now for a few years. Mm-hmm. And actually, the other day, I happened upon street epistemology, mm-hmm. and I happened to watch the original video with you and I forget the other guy's name.
Anthony Magnabosco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Anthony Magnabosco. Mm-hmm. But then there was a friend of yours who, yeah, and you guys were both Christian at the time. And I got to watch your whole, at first I just watched that video of Anthony interviewing you and your buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And then that YouTube algorithm brought me to the video where, whoa, it turns out that you're an atheist now.
Yeah.
And you had thought a lot about that. And I thought that was super cool just to see your transformation, and really relatable, because I was raised Mormon, and went through kind of a transformation of my own.
Well, I'm so glad you got to, and you know, that was being here now and getting more into it, like that was the goal. That was one of the reasons why I talked to Anthony again with that follow-up was, hey, I think people would be kind of interested in seeing like where I'm at now. You know what I mean? Because up until that point, I hadn't said anything about anything online. I wasn't plugged into any kind of communities. I was just like, oh, hey, I'm an atheist now. And like, it's kind of sort of part of that conversation that we had, you know, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm glad that you got to see that, Jake.
Right. And so cool how now you're running your own show with the Atheist Community of Austin. That is just so awesome.
Yeah.
So,
to use a word that you wouldn't think I would use, it's a blessing. It really is. I'm so happy with what I've been doing here and what the community's accomplished. So yeah, I'm really good. But I'm not here to toot my own horn here, Jake. I'm here to answer your questions. So what else do you got for me, man?
Well, I was just going to ask what advice you would have for someone kind of aspiring to move in the same direction you have. And just, I would like to, I'm where you used to be. I've never said anything online.
Yeah.
You know, I've never really tried to do anything like that, but I've been very interested in it for a while. And I care really deeply about just kind of helping human progress and the advancement of our species' ability to just kind of have conversations about difficult topics with each other and think about these things. So I was wondering what advice both of you would have for someone trying to move in that same direction. And also, I don't really have a community around me. I mean, I found there is an Atheist Community of Washington, I think. And it's pretty liberal up here, so I know there are a lot of like agnostic atheists, but I'm trying to get more involved in like a community of like-minded people. So just wondering, any advice you guys have for that? Yeah,
I'd love to start on this, and then I'd love to let Sassy pipe in. But man, so that was my first struggle too, was like, all right, I'm an atheist now. Now what? Like, where my community at? You know, part of that ended up being in the ACA, but you know, that was an 1.5-hour drive that I made every weekend to come down here. I actually started first doing call screens for Atheist Experience. And that's kind of how I started getting involved here. But I also got involved with the Secular Student Alliance. That was kind of local to me, which I found. And it was like the only group in my entire area. Like there was a Unitarian church. But, you know, a lot of those folks, they were a lot of older, you know, and it wasn't really kind of a hangout kind of fun kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, at least not for me, right? It just wasn't for me. So one, like having that community that you can plug into, especially if you're getting into YouTube, man, like I can get you set up with some people who would definitely love to talk to you and see what you're about. But I'll say this, if we're talking about YouTube specifically, right? First, I'd say, you know, find a community that wants to hear you first and you can bounce ideas off of and stuff like what you want to do. But I have a story. And that's really awesome. I'm glad I get to tell people my story, and that's out there for people to see. You have a story too, Jake. Sassy has a story. Everybody has a story. And I imagine your story, Jake, would probably connect with a lot of Mormons who are questioning what they're doing right now. You know, so like if we're talking about what kind of stuff you want to do, I'd say like find your angle, man. Like find what niche you can fill, what hasn't been said, what experiences need to be spoken about. So yeah, you can find kind of a place at the table, and there's always going to be a place at the table. Even if you just go through the generic, like, oh, I'm just gonna, you know, disintegrate this apologetic. You know, I mean that's cool too, man. Like just like there's a time and place, and the people who are on there making that kind of content, I love them just the same. But you know what? I think what the community really needs right now, and what people really need, are the life experiences and stories of people that you can relate to on a level that. Look, I could talk to 100 Mormons, but they're not going to be able to see me on the same level as they might see you, right? Because I don't have that experiences as Mormons. I don't have that culture. I can't speak their language as well. So that would be my advice, right? Like, figure out what that niche is, see what you can do, and like, how can you incorporate your story in the way that you talk to people, you know? Sassy, what do you got?
I say that for anyone out there that is questioning and is doubting or is thinking about, moving in a different direction and don't feel that they hold the same belief anymore, I say that there's nothing wrong with questioning, with asking questions, and with having doubts.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with trying to take the time to figure out what you truly believe and do it for yourself, not because what someone else says that, oh, this is right and this is wrong. Do it what makes you happy and do what you feel is right. And it's nothing wrong if it takes you or someone, a while to get to that point where, hey, okay, this is what I believe in. All of us are on our own path, our own journey, and it's a different time for each one of us, and our path doesn't look like the same like others. And also what I encourage is that if you have the chance to tell someone and to help someone with your story or whatever you've gone through in life, do it, because it is really important. It isn't just going to help you feel good about yourself and to help you grow as a person, and it's to help others and to help that person and what they're going through.
Yeah, for sure. It's about helping, man. That's what I mean, that's my approach to it, right? There's definitely some people who just want to take people down, who just want to end the system, man. And if that's your deal, more power to you. But you have a unique position, I would say, especially with your background and what you probably know, that I think could be lifted up more. I've said this before too. Especially Mormon voices and ex-Jehovah's Witness voices, I really want to give more of a platform to, because look, I didn't know what was up with you guys. I just knew you were the guys that rode bikes and wore and just wore ties everywhere, I guess. But like, when I started to hear the Mormon stories, and when I started to hear the theology and the history of the church, and that's like, whoa, like, why isn't everybody talking about this? Like, this is crazy. But hey, man, that's something you could talk about, So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
And there
Jake, what do you
aren't
think?
too many voices talking about.
Not enough voices.
Like, I don't hear too many ex-Mormons. There's a lot of ex-Christians and stuff, but I haven't heard too many ex-Mormons.
There's an ex-Mormon podcast community out there right now, which is really fascinating to me. I don't know how well that's translated to YouTube, but yeah, I mean, Jimmy, Mr. Atheist, is probably one of the more well-known ex-Mormons that I know of. But like I said, there's always room at the table for more people and more voices and experience. And that's my advice, man. Like, start off with that. Figure out what you can say to people. And yeah, that's it, man. That's all I got. What do you think?
I think that's great. I really appreciate the advice. Thank you very much.
And Jake, are you on Twitter at all?
I have a Twitter.
Okay. I was going to say, you should message me later, dude. Like, if you want some more advice or you want to talk to some other people, man, I have an email as well. And that's for anybody who wants to talk about, like, getting more involved in a community effort. Definitely email me, truth@atheist-community.org. And I'd love to be in touch with you, dude.
Great. Thank you so much.
Cool. Yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Talk to you later.
It's cool. I like it. I like that so many people have decided to do this crazy internet thing, man. Like, it's great.
Yeah. A friend of mine just sent me a photo. I think she's outside of your studio because she has this picture of me on the screen and you in the studio.
Yeah, I think she's in the studio right now. I've just seen
Oh
some
my
people walking
God.
around. So, yeah.
I was like,
that's
me.
It's a live show, folks. You can come in every Friday. We're open. So anyway, let's get to a few more callers here. Well, we actually have some calls right now. I want to go to Craig in New Mexico. Hey, Craig, how's it going? Hello, Craig, are you there? Hey.
Yes.
Hey, are you driving right now, Craig? I can hear some background noise.
No.
Okay.
That's my air conditioner.
Okay. What's up, Craig? How can I help?
Well, I was wanting to talk about the judgmental theists that are around.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. I have no idea what you just said, but I do have a description here that says you have a question about judgmental theists.
Yes.
Huh.
I am difficult to understand because I have a brain injury.
I see. Okay, for sure. Yeah, so maybe could you elaborate on your question a little bit?
Well, just everything I've gone through this since my injury. I went to church for a little while because, looking branches and things that way. And they would tell me, don't speak. They were always judging by the way it sounded. That had nothing to contribute.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that's like. That's gotta be really hard. I can't imagine. I remember being outcasted for the stuff I was kind of developing in my time when I was kind of leaving the church, but I've never been judged for like any kind of physical impairments like that, and that's really shitty that you have to go through that. So Craig, I guess I'm wondering, do you have a question that you want to ask about that? Like, are you looking for something there?
Well, I'm not really. It's more about what kind of corridor should I be headed with this discrimination.
Yeah, I mean, it's so blatant these days. It's so out there. I don't know why people are surprised when it says, the church group is discriminating against X, I mean, and the thing about it these days, too, is for a lot of these times, they're loud and proud about it. Like they'll show up at protests or make some banners or some sort of public declaration. We've seen a lot of this with the LGBT community in general. I think before the LGBT community was as active and vocal as it was, the discrimination was always kind of in the shadows. It was always just kind of, behind closed doors. But yeah, even you see that for physical disabilities too. You see that people discriminate against that, especially in evangelical circles who think that some sort of physical impairments are literally the punishment of God for something that you've done, which is just awful. And I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. Oh, looks like we actually lost the call there. But Craig, if you're out there, man, listen, you have a community here of people who will listen to you and who won't turn you down. So I hope you can take solace in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Craig, stay strong, bud. I want to go to our next call here. This might be somebody I know. Hello, who is this?
Hey.
Oh my gosh.
So it is Christy. Hey. It is my girlfriend calling on the line right now.
Me.
How's it going, Christy? What are you doing?
Pretty good. Just driving.
Oh.
So sorry if my audio is god awful.
Yeah. Okay. Just be safe.
But, I'm good. I'm on this road for 100 more miles, so we're all good.
Right. So I think you have a question for Sassy, right? Not for me.
I do.
Okay.
I do. Well, yeah, I don't have any questions for you, Dan. I'm sorry.
That's
I think I know a lot about what you would say to most of the questions. But Sassy, I was wondering about if you could tell us a little bit more about your deconversion. I was wondering, like, what kind of things did people tell you that made you start kind of questioning things, and how long did it take for you to actually admit to yourself that you were an atheist?
Good question. So I'm gonna go back years ago, when I was first starting, out and learning about religion, and learning different beliefs and trying to, see and feel what worked for me. There were always things that were there that I had doubts about and that didn't make sense to me. Like, for example, when I was learning and studying more about the Noah's flood and Bible, and I had found out that there were other religions that had a similar story, and that they were older than Christianity. And when I found that out, I was like, that doesn't make sense. If the Bible says that everything is true, and basically everything else, a different religion or is wrong, then how come there are religions that have a similar story that are far older than Christianity? And another thing that I never agreed with was, well, not for a while anyway. For a while, I didn't agree with the fact that dinosaurs lived with humans.
Yeah.
But when I became evangelical, I believed in that, sadly. But and then I also, when I was still figuring out what I wanted to believe in, I was watching a lot of atheist YouTubers. I was watching the Atheist Experience. I was watching Rachel Oates, Jacqueline Glenn, and Raging Atheists, and there were some other ones too. And a lot of what they said and they explained and what they were talking about was what seemed very logical and more rational than what I was learning and what I was hearing about. And I was like, yeah, they make sense. And another thing that I didn't understand was that how can Christians, at the time I had this question for a very long time, how could Christians forgive a rapist or a murderer or any person that did such a terrible act, but condemn people who are homosexual or transgender or who isn't a Christian? It didn't click with me. I just couldn't understand how that was rational, how that was logical, and how that was even moral to have forgiveness and to show compassion to extremely bad people, but show disrespect and didn't accept other people, good people, but just because they were different, that they weren't what Christians viewed as normal. Homosexuality is normal, but I'm saying that for them they didn't see them as normal. And there were many other things that I had, but when I started to grow in my faith and I did end up being very religious, I pushed away those doubts. I said, well, God knows, he knows things that we don't know. He knows what's best for us, and we don't have to know everything. We don't have to question everything. If we trust
him. I remember that exactly.
Yeah, I had that belief. I had that mindset that you didn't have to question things, as that's where faith came in. As long as you had faith in God, no matter what, no matter how confusing something may be to you, just trust in God, and that's good enough. And so I had just put away all those doubts, and I just, forgot and try to forget about them and to dismiss it. And then, and also, like, another thing that one of many things that I just try to dismiss, and I try to not think about, was when it came to my sexuality. I had believed that, homosexuality was a sin, and that I tried to deny for so many years, like throughout majority of my life, that hey, I didn't want to admit, or in that at some point I was afraid to admit that I wasn't straight. And but obviously, some of the people that I know that had a very conservative views regarding homosexuality, and also when it came to my belief, and I felt that I was going against God, I just say, no, I'm not. I'm not homosexual. I'm straight. I'm only attracted to men, and that's the who I'm gonna marry in the future and have a family with, is with a man, and that's because that's what God created for a relationship between a man and a woman. And so, like, one of many blessings that I had after becoming atheist is truly accepting my sexuality, and truly accepting and having compassion towards other people who are the same. And it's just becoming an atheist, and also learning and growing still as a human being. I have found more and more compassion for others, and I have become so much more independent. I have confidence in myself. I'm not trying to hide my sexuality. I'm not trying to, I don't believe that certain parts of my personality is wrong. Because I was also, as a Christian, I was also, I viewed that, hey, being sassy or being sarcastic, that's not a godly woman. And so I tried to not be that. I tried to be someone that I wasn't. And it was a long process of doubts and things happening personally in my life. And becoming an atheist, I'm, open those doors, and to not feel ashamed, and to embrace who I am.
I heard a great joke the other day, or I saw a Twitter post where it was like, the Bible supports polyamory, not monogamy. It's Adam and Eve, not Adam or Eve. So.
That's bisexuality, Dan.
Yeah.
You should know. You should know. You date me. Hello.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was funny. But yeah, so like, I'm glad that you're able to shed some of those expectations that you kind of put upon yourself, and just because I know that feeling of shame that you're talking about, right? Like, I know that, like, oh, I don't live up to, like, I felt like I didn't live up to this godly manhood that was supposed to be given to me. Like, I was taught courses on this kind of stuff, like, oh, how to be like a biblical man, like, what does it mean to be a man of God? How do you want to be a godly husband one day, stuff like that. And wow, it's just, it can be so toxic sometimes when you really break down some of those ideas and what kind of those expectations are, especially when we're talking about relationships with people and stuff. And yeah, obviously the people who were writing a lot of this stuff weren't taking account into our modern ideas of what we understand to be, LGBT and stuff like that. So it really is hard. But go for it.
Sorry.
Go for it.
Even my situation is not exactly the same as Sassy's or as yours, but I do remember being like in church camps and stuff, and feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not as into this as everybody else is, and I'm like trying to like make myself be more like into all the worship services and stuff, just so I would please this non-existent being. that I wasn't even sure, existed. I was just kind of like, oh, well, I should just really get into this. And I always remember feeling like, oh, I'm not as good as these people because these people are like way more into this than I am.
You're making the baby Jesus cry. Yeah, don't do it.
Baby Jesus has been a baby for 2,000 years then, I guess. So
I mean, it's the other part of the Trinity, which I guess would make it a quadrinity.
Is it like a Benjamin Button thing?
Yes.
Where he goes like, he ages.
Probably.
He ages backwards now.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're outside of space and time, you don't really age at all, right? So if you start off as a baby Jesus, then you stay baby Jesus.
Yeah.
I think that's how that works.
Well, I don't know if y'all have any other callers on the line, but I do have another question that I wanted to talk to Sassy about as well.
Yeah, throw out your question. And then we'll probably start wrapping up the show after this one as well.
All right. So I was on Twitter as I normally am, and I saw something about disagreement with homosexuality is homophobia, and I do kind of agree with that. But I've always had issues with people saying I disagree with or I disagree with the LGBT community, because to me, I think I finally figured it out, because I think that disagreement kind of implies that you think it's a choice. Because you kind of, it would be like saying, like, I disagree with black people because they're black. Like, that's stupid. Like, nobody would say that. Well, I mean, some people might, but.
Yeah, I definitely.
It would be dumb.
Yeah, I definitely grew up with the assumption that that being LGBT or having, feelings of that kind of sort were a choice, which doesn't make sense even saying it out loud, like choosing your feelings about people. But like, if you grow up with that framework, then it makes sense for you to say like, oh, I disagree with LGBT, because like in one sense you're disagreeing with the LGBT's interpretation of what it means to be LGBT, right? Like you're kind of redefining them as a category or as a group of why these people are the way that they are and why they would advocate the things that they advocate. Yeah.
See, I'm kind of,
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, sorry.
The disagreement part also kind of, I think some people say that because they don't want to say I hate these kinds of people, and that's where the hate the sin, love the sinner thing comes from. But I think that I think that some people don't actually realize that what they're saying means that they're saying, oh, it is a choice, because maybe some people are saying, oh, well, I don't think it's a choice, but I still disagree with them. Yeah. Because, I mean, while in one way it's a choice to engage in things like that, but it's not a choice to have those attractions. And there's nothing wrong with engaging in that kind of, those kinds of activities. I just don't really get that whole disagreement thing. Yeah. That's always bothered me, even when I was a Christian.
Sassy is dying here. She needs to say something.
Yeah. I'm gonna be the odd one here. I slightly disagree. I don't. I'm gonna be the odd one here.
That's it. She's sassy. She's coming for you.
I don't necessarily believe that, or not, or disagreeing with homosexuality is homophobic. What I view homophobic is like hatred and whether it's verbal and you just hate the person just because of their sexuality, and that you're very cruel and you disrespect that person. That's like what I view as homophobic. I know some people who are Christians, and they believe that a relationship should be, between a man and a woman. But they do not show disrespect, or they do not show hatred towards, people part of the LGBTQ community. They say, hey, it's fine. This is just what I believe, but I'm not going to really judge you or to condemn you. That's just like from some of the people that I know, and I know that there are many Christians and maybe even some other religious people that are the same way. So like I think it depends on the person, but that's where I stand. As like I don't necessarily think just disagreeing with it implies homophobia.
Well, okay, I just want to point out first, like saying the phrase disagreeing with homosexuality doesn't actually make sense in itself. Like, I disagree with heterosexuality. Right. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't really.
Everyone just be gay. Like, you can't just say that and expect everyone to just be gay.
Yeah.
You know?
So I think what it boils down to is just imprecise language when people are talking about this, and it's not you, Sassy, that's doing this, right? It's the people who talk about these issues. Who, I mean, I'll be honest, right? When I was a younger man, and I was saying whenever I talked about the LGBTQ community and its issues, I was completely ignorant. I didn't know what I was talking about. I was just repeating stuff I had heard. I was just like, yeah, like these people, they've been what the kind of theology I was taught was like, well, some people are tempted and they have other temptations, and that's kind of their burden to bear. That is the cross that they must bear, and they have to work through those temptations, and that's just what
I'm
God
passing a thing that says, beyond reasonable doubt, Jesus is alive. Call 834-TRUTH.
That's right. We should buy out like some of those truth extension numbers so that they redirect to this show. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just needed to throw that in.
We need like a vandalism project, not actually vandalism project, but like if somebody were to replace that number with this number, that would be really fascinating. But no, so like what it is it's people who have never even talked about an LGBTQ person, about their experiences, talking about the experiences of LGBTQ people. Like, that's it. It's superimposing a narrative that they were taught from somebody else who didn't really know. My perspective has totally changed when I actually started hearing about the stories of people and their experiences. And it's like, hey, not only are these...
look where you are.
Yeah, like, not only are these people similar to me in many ways, like, oh, yes, they grew up Christian. They wanted to go into ministry. They followed the Lord. They did this and that. But kind of as an extension to that they also had these doubts about themselves, that they weren't meeting the expectations, and that this was, a trial put upon them. So,
and now you're dating one.
Yes, and now I'm dating.
Congratulations!
So I'm extra sinning.
Extra sinning.
Because you're atheist and bisexual, so I'm going to double hell. That's crazy.
You're bisexual?
Oh
no.
No, you're not.
No, but I'm going to double hell for dating you. That's what it is.
That would make me going to like triple hell.
I guess so. I'd have to look at Dante's Inferno again. There's a lot of layers to that, but
I'm not really engaging either. But I have those thoughts, and you don't.
Yeah.
So.
I hope I answered all your questions,
yes.
Christy.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this was great. I'll have to call in again sometime.
All right. First, Christy, before you go, I have to ask: are you single?
I date this guy. He has his own show. I think it's called like Lies Needed or something.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, I'm gonna hang up the phone on you now. So.
Okay, I love you.
Love you too. See ya. That was good.
Oh, such a cute couple.
I know, we're obnoxious. It's terrible. But yeah, I think I want to kind of wrap things up here for tonight. Sassy, it's been really awesome having you on. Thanks so much for dropping by. Where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter, and that's about it. I mean, I'm on Discord, but it's not open for everyone. I personally
don't you have like a YouTube channel that people can find?
Yes, I was getting to that.
Okay, all right. You do you. You can.
You guys can find me at Sassy Atheist. I hope you like my content, and I hope you can learn something from it, hopefully. It's actually crazy is that I'm almost 200 subscribers. For me, it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great that
compared to you, it's tiny.
Well, hold on. I mean, like, you have to think about time frames, though, right? I mean, you're just getting started. That's really good. But yeah, keep plugging along, like, and all those other content creators who want to start making stuff or want to be content creators, like, yeah, go for it. Live your best life. As Shia LaBeouf would say, just do it. Don't let your dreams be memes and all that jazz. But let me go ahead and plug this stuff. This is Truth Wanted. This is my show that I do every week at 7 p.m. Central Time, live here at the Atheist Community of Austin. It is on YouTube, but you might be listening to this show from iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, wherever else you get your podcasts from. You can find me on Twitter at ObjectivelyDan. I like to be active on there. At least I say that I like to be active on there. But you can also contact me through email at for truth at atheist-community.org. And there's a Facebook group for Truth Wanted as well, which you should definitely join if you're a fan of the show. And hey, the ACA has a Discord too. And I need to start popping back in on there again because I haven't done that in a while. And I like saying hi to folks on there. But yeah, Sassy, is there anything else that you want to tell us before we wrap up the show tonight?
I just want to say I am extremely grateful for all the support that everyone has given me. I have met so many wonderful people within the community, and I've also met many wonderful theists too. And it's amazing that I get to still, just meet new people and to. Isn't
it a shame you had to meet me? I mean, that's probably.
You're awesome. I was like, when I first started out, and because I know Neil, he's my friend, and then I started that's meeting
Neil 604 Atheist. For those of you who don't know, he makes
I met Aaron Raw, and then I met Shannon Q, and then I met all these different YouTubers that I saw as celebrities, and I before when I found about you, and then I was like, oh my god, I mean a celebrity.
That's debatable. I noticed you put me at the end there because I know I was the afterthought to the other people that you just listed, and that's fine. Like, I understand that's my status. I'm like a D tier atheist at best, right?
Those are just the ones that I had.
No, it's cool. It's cool, Sassy. I get it. Okay. You don't have to apologize. No, but seriously, those other guys are great. And speaking of which, Aaron and I have been going back and forth trying to get this dude because I want him in studio. You guys should bug Aaron if you guys see him on Twitter and stuff like that to get him on Truth Wanted because we've been talking about that for a while. But anyway, I'm glad you're here. Keep up with the channel. Good luck to you. And
thank you.
Thanks
Thank you for having me on.
Yes, of course. And thank you, everybody who's been watching this show
Thank you.
live tonight, who are in the chat, who are super awesome. That about wraps it up for another episode of Truth Wanted, folks. Remember to keep always wanting the truth, and we'll see you next time.